once was a young girl who was walking along the beach, and as she went along the beach, she was picking up these starfish that had been, thousands of them, that had been thrown up on the beach as a result of a terrible storm. And as she went along, she just picked up one and threw it back into the ocean. And there was a few people on the beach who were just observing what she was doing. And eventually one of them came up to her and said, what are you doing? You're just never going to make any difference here. There's thousands of them. You know, you're wasting your time, really. So the young girl was a little bit deflated and a bit crushed, and she stopped for a moment. And then after a couple of seconds, she bent down, picked up another starfish and flung it as far as she could and as hard as she could into the ocean. And she looked that man in the eye and she said, well, I made a difference to that one. So he was quite taken aback, really, and he just stopped for a moment and reflected on what she said and was quite inspired by it. And inspired by what she did, he decided that he'd also help. So he bent down and started picking up starfish and threw them back into the ocean. And of course then, as other people watched and observed, they also started to bend down and pick up. So eventually, when everyone got involved, by the end of the time, they had all the starfish had been saved and sent back into the ocean. I wanted to share that story about the starfish because for me it carries a really strong message about what we can achieve as communities if each and every individual just does their one small part. And it's a very powerful message in that way. Hi, you're very welcome, and I'm so glad you're joining us here today. So the following short videos provide us with a lens or a framework to help us better understand what we all need as individuals and as human beings to flourish well and thrive in our lives. They were developed with the PPN in response to the COVID pandemic and some of the struggles that people were experiencing. So we hope that by watching these videos you will be better resourced to deal with some of the challenges that we're facing at the moment, and also find joy and something to help and sustain us as we go forward. And of course, the knowledge and information and skills that we'll gain from watching these videos will help not just ourselves as individuals, but also the members of our community. As individuals, we live in a community, and the well-being of an individual and the community are inextricably linked. They interchange. So the better resourced and able we are to take care of our own well-being, the better we are able to contribute to the well-being of our community. Possibly a good place to start is really the understanding that, and hopefully we can all agree on this, that as all living things on the planet, animals, plants, even and human beings need to be able to take nourishment from their environment in order to flourish and to do well. And if we look at that, take a practical example of a plant. You take a beautiful orchid or a flower plant that grows in your garden. It has physical needs that need to be met in terms of it needs to be able to take light from the sun, it needs to take in air, nourishment from the soil, etc. And human beings are no different. We have physical needs in terms of our need for air, water, nutrition, shelter, exercise, etc. What makes human beings different, though, or each and every one of us different from a plant or other living organism, is that we have a set of emotional needs. So these videos will look at what are our psychological or emotional needs. They will also look at the most wonderful bit. If we need to get those needs met in the environment, what resources have we got within ourselves that will help us get those needs met? And we'll also just very briefly look at what are some of the reasons that we may not get those needs met that will interfere with that. My name is Avril Bailey, and I'm a qualified human givens psychotherapist. I'm also a tutor and a coach. And over the course of my career, I've been really fortunate to work in the community and voluntary sector for most of my career. And I have really loved doing that. I've worked with a diverse group of organisations and met some amazing people along the way. One of the key things, I suppose, that underpins my approach to my career to date and all my work is the idea that knowledge is transformational, and that with the right knowledge and the right supports, individuals, families and communities can create change and transform their lives. And it is that kind of belief that has resulted in me being a keen advocate of the Human Givens approach. Human Givens is a brief solution-focused therapy. It is based on the latest psychological insights in neuroscience, and it is a framework that looks, a practical and effective framework that looks at what are our emotional needs that contribute to our health and well-being, and what are the resources we have that are innate to us, that we're born with, that can help us get those needs met. And it's that kind of unique understanding of our emotional needs and our resources to get those needs met and keep them in balance that contributes to our emotional health and well-being. Many years ago I had worked as a psychotherapist, and I became a little bit disillusioned with it. I thought it was, I didn't see the results that I would like to have seen. And so I went on and did I requalified and did a master's in education, and became really taken with the idea of how education can transform our lives. And in that I connected with the individuals who were practitioners of the Human Givens approach, and it just matched and it just made sense. And anyone I spoke to about it, when I'd explained some of the ideas, they just had that kind of, well, of course, it's just, that makes sense, doesn't it? So it connects with people in a part of them that knows that information on some level and just needs to maybe bring it out or understand it in a different way. So wouldn't it be good to know that you had all the knowledge, skills and resources you need to contribute to your own, not just your own well-being, but those of the people in your community. That not only would you just have the empathy with others in your community, but the actual skills and resources to make a difference. And that's what we hope these short videos will contribute towards.